My friends, today as we gather our thoughts and open our hearts, I want you to picture this one thing, a life where you are not pushed around by circumstances, but propelled by purpose. A life where every morning begins not with hesitation, but with holy expectation. You are not created to crawl through your days. You are designed to rise, to build, to influence, and to move with a strength that this world cannot take from you. The power of beginning each day with purpose is one of the most transformative forces a person can bring into their life. When you wake up and immediately anchor yourself to a clear intention, you shift from living reactively to living deliberately. Most people rise in the morning and allow the day to happen to them, responding to problems, interruptions, and emotions as they come. But a person who begins the day with purpose steps into the morning already aligned, already centered, already moving with direction. Purpose acts like a compass. It doesn't eliminate the storms, but it ensures you never lose your way in the middle of them. It tells your mind where to focus, your emotions how to settle. Aligning your thoughts with a higher vision is about lifting your inner gaze above the noise of daily life and choosing to think from a place of possibility rather than limitation. Every thought carries a direction, and if your thoughts remain tangled in fear, doubt, or the smallness of yesterday's failures, you naturally drift toward a life shaped by those same limits. But when you intentionally align your thinking with a vision that is bigger, brighter, and anchored in hope, you elevate your entire inner world. You begin to see beyond what is and lean into what could be. That shift doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you decide to let your mind dwell on the future you're called to instead of the past you've outgrown. This kind of alignment is not about blind optimism, nor is it about pretending challenges don't exist. It's about choosing the lens through which you interpret everything around you. When your mind is fixed on a higher vision, obstacles become instruction, delays become refinement, and setbacks become setups for greater strength. You stop measuring your potential by your present circumstances and start measuring it by what you believe you're moving toward. A higher vision keeps you from shrinking when life feels overwhelming. It pulls you upward, reminding you that who you are becoming is the discipline of daily consistency, is the quiet engine behind every life that rises above average. While talent may give someone a moment of advantage and inspiration can spark a season of momentum, it is consistency that builds the kind of strength that lasts. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't usually come with applause or instant results. It often feels ordinary, repetitive, and slower than we'd like. But beneath that simplicity lies a force that reshapes character, rewires mindset, and constructs futures that once seemed unreachable. When you commit to showing up every day, even in small ways, you create patterns that your future can stand on. Daily consistency trains your mind to trust your own decisions. When you repeatedly follow through on what you say you will do, something powerful happens inside you. Your confidence grows, your discipline deepens, and your identity strengthens. You no longer see yourself as someone who wishes, tries, or hopes. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. That shift alone can move mountains in your life, because a person who trusts themselves becomes difficult to stop. Consistency also teaches you patience, because growth rarely arrives in sudden leaps. It usually comes in small steps, the kind you barely notice until one day the results are undeniable. Another quiet miracle of consistency is how it compounds over time. Just like small drops eventually fill a reservoir, small daily actions accumulate into something far greater than their individual effort. 5 minutes of reading each day becomes entire books consumed in a year. A short walk each day becomes a stronger, healthier body. A simple moment of reflection or prayer each morning becomes emotional stability and spiritual clarity. The world celebrates the breakthroughs, but consistency is always what creates them beneath the surface. Consistency also acts as a shield in difficult seasons. When life feels uncertain or chaotic, the habits you've built hold you steady. They give you something familiar to anchor yourself to when everything else feels unstable. The discipline to continue, even when motivation is low, protects you from sliding backward. It gives you structure when emotions try to pull you off course, and keeps your momentum alive when circumstances challenge your resolve. At its core, daily consistency is not just about doing. It's about becoming. It is the slow, speaking life, not limitation, over yourself is one of the most powerful shifts you can make, because your words become the atmosphere your soul breathes in. Many people speak from fear without realizing it. They say things like, "I can't," "I'm not enough," "nothing ever works for me," or "I always mess up." These phrases may sound harmless, but they quietly shape how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. When your words constantly reinforce your weaknesses, you begin to live inside the walls those words create. But when you choose to speak life words of possibility, strength, identity, and hope, you start building a different inner world, one that supports growth instead of stifling it. The words you speak reveal what you truly believe, but they also influence those beliefs. Speaking life is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about deciding which truth you want to align with, the truth of your fear or the truth of your potential. When you affirm your capacity to grow, to endure, to rise, you are not lying to yourself. You are reminding your heart of what it tends to forget in difficult moments. You are giving your mind a higher narrative to follow. Words have momentum. They carry you in the direction they point. Speaking limitation keeps you small, but speaking life expands your sense of what's possible. Every challenge you face becomes easier when your words align with strength instead of defeat. The moment you say, "I will learn from this," the burden feels lighter. When you declare, "I am growing," even the slow days feel meaningful. Speaking life shifts your emotional posture. It straightens your inner spine. It helps you stay open to solutions instead of collapsing under pressure. When you consistently use language that builds instead of breaks, you train your mind to look for pathways instead of barriers. Speaking life also rewires the way you show up to the world. When your internal dialogue is filled with courage, grace, and expectation, you naturally carry yourself with a different energy. You interact with others differently. You make decisions differently. You begin to live from a place of intention instead of insecurity. Even small verbal shifts like replacing "I'm trying" with "I'm committed," or "I'm struggling" with "I'm overcoming," gradually transform your mindset. These aren't empty phrases, they are internal anchors. And as you keep speaking life, you develop resilience. Positive words don't prevent hardship, but they prevent hardship from defining you. When your language reinforces who you are becoming instead of who you fear you are, you protect your identity and preserve your strength. You give yourself permission to grow, to stumble, to rise again, and to believe in the person you are steadily becoming. The role of gratitude in strengthening inner resilience is deeper than simply feeling thankful. It reshapes the way your heart interprets life. When gratitude becomes a daily habit, even in its smallest forms, it trains your mind to notice what is working rather than what is breaking. Most people move through life scanning for frustrations, disappointments, and inconveniences because the human mind, naturally seeing challenges as divine opportunities, is a shift that transforms the way you navigate every struggle, setback, or moment of uncertainty. Most people react to challenges with frustration or fear because they view them as interruptions, barriers that block progress and drain strength. But when you begin to see them through a higher lens, challenges take on a different meaning. They become classrooms where growth takes place, tools that refine your character, and pathways that guide you toward deeper strength. This perspective doesn't make difficulties disappear, but it gives them purpose, and purpose changes the weight of everything you carry. When a challenge shows up, something in you is being invited to expand. It might be your patience, your courage, your creativity, or your faith. Challenges stretch your capacity, revealing strengths you didn't know you had and breaking patterns that have kept you small. What looks like resistance is often preparation. Just as muscles grow by pushing against weight, your inner life grows by pushing through obstacles. Every challenge contains something meant to shape you. When you see it that way, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" That single shift can lift the heaviness off your shoulders. Difficult seasons also reveal what you truly believe about yourself and your future. When everything is easy, it's simple to speak positively and feel strong. But in the midst of pressure, your deeper convictions surface. Challenges test the foundation of your identity, not to break you, but to show you where reinforcement is needed. They illuminate the areas that require healing, clarity, or discipline. Instead of seeing them as attacks, you begin to recognize them as indicators that something greater is being built within you. Challenges also sharpen your instincts. They teach resourcefulness, creativity, and adaptability. When a door closes, you learn to look for windows. When plans fall apart, you discover new strategies. When something takes longer than expected, patience strengthens your endurance. These qualities don't develop in comfort. They grow in moments that stretch your limits. Over time, this shaping creates a resilience that cannot be manufactured any other way. And perhaps the most profound part of seeing challenges as divine opportunities is how it protects your peace. Instead of spiraling into negativity or assuming the worst, you anchor yourself in the belief that something meaningful is emerging from the struggle. This mindset steadies your emotions, strengthens your hope, and keeps you moving forward with intention. It allows you to walk through difficulty without losing your sense of direction, because you understand that every challenge carries a hidden invitation to rise into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Cultivating a habit of prayer or reflection is like creating a sacred pause in the middle of life's noise, a moment where your inner world can breathe again. When you deliberately set aside time each day to quiet your thoughts, center your emotions, and reconnect with something deeper than your circumstances, you strengthen the core of who you are. Prayer and reflection slow the frantic pace of the mind. They interrupt the constant chatter, the worries, the overthinking, and the pressure that tries to crowd your spirit. In that stillness, clarity begins to rise. You start to see what truly matters, what needs to be released, and what deserves your energy. This daily moment becomes a spiritual reset, aligning your heart with peace instead of chaos. When you develop this habit, you give yourself a place where honesty is safe. You can acknowledge your fears, your hopes, your confusion, and your dreams without pretending or performing. Reflection exposes the thoughts hiding beneath the surface, the ones you might ignore in the rush of the day. Prayer brings those thoughts into alignment with hope. It reminds you that you are not alone, not abandoned, not directionless. It reconnects you with a sense of purpose, allowing you to see beyond what is happening and lean into what is possible. Even a few quiet minutes can change the emotional tone of your entire day. This habit also strengthens your resilience. When you consistently step into a place of inner stillness, you build a deeper capacity to handle pressure. Problems don't shake you as easily because you've anchored yourself in something stable. You have a place to return to when stress rises, a space where you can breathe and regroup. Reflection teaches you to respond instead of react. Prayer helps you trust instead of panic. Together, they shape a calm confidence that doesn't crumble when circumstances shift. As you practice this daily pause, your awareness sharpens. You become more sensitive to the direction your life is moving, more alert to opportunities, and more discerning about what to release. You start noticing patterns in your thoughts and emotions. You begin recognizing what drains you and what strengthens you. This awareness becomes wisdom, guiding your decisions with greater clarity and intention. Over time, this simple habit becomes a source of strength. It nourishes your inner life, fuels your patience, and keeps your heart grounded when the world feels heavy. And as you continue showing up to this sacred space each day, you begin to realize that the peace you touch in those moments isn't something you visit once in a while. It becomes something you carry with you into every conversation, every challenge, every choice, every step you take moving into the day ahead, where your spirit remains anchored even when your surroundings shift and your mind learns to rest even when circumstances try to pull you into anxiety.
Идем в желтый
And your
тюльпан,
heart
давай.
finds itself returning again and again to that quiet place where you remember who you are and who you are. Becoming nourishing your spirit with hopeful expectations is about feeding the inner part of you that determines how you show up to life. Every day, your spirit absorbs something: fear, doubt, heaviness, or hope, possibility, and confidence. What you continually feed becomes the atmosphere you carry within. When you choose to nourish yourself with hope, you're choosing to approach each day believing that something good can happen, that growth is possible, that change is within reach, and that your future still holds room for transformation. Hope is not naive. Hope is fuel. It strengthens your inner posture, brightens your perspective, and gives your heart something to lean toward even when circumstances seem slow to shift. Hopeful expectation is not a passive wish. It's an active decision to align your inner world with the belief that your life is moving somewhere meaningful. When you expect good things, your mind becomes more open to possibility. You become more creative, more resilient, and more willing to try again. Hope gives your decisions courage. It turns hesitation into movement and fear into faith. Without hope, even simple tasks feel heavy and opportunities seem distant. With hope, you start to see pathways where you once saw walls. You begin to realize that setbacks aren't endings. They're simply pauses on the way to something greater. Nourishing your spirit with hopeful expectations also reshapes the emotional tone of your day. When hope is alive inside you, small irritations don't dominate your mood. Problems feel less permanent. You interpret challenges through a lens of growth instead of defeat. Hope keeps your emotions from sinking into discouragement or stagnation. It lifts your head when you're tempted to look down. It keeps your heart open when disappointment tries to shut it. And that openness matters, because a closed heart can't recognize new opportunities even when they stand right in front of it. Hopeful expectation also influences the choices you make. When you believe something better is ahead, you behave differently. You take steps that align with improvement. You invest in yourself. You treat your time with more intention. You surround yourself with people and environments that push you upward. Hope quietly elevates your standards because it reminds you that you're not stuck. You're evolving. Over time, nourishing yourself with hope becomes a spiritual rhythm. It becomes the voice that whispers, "Try again," on the days you feel tired. It becomes the strength that says, "There's more for you," when life feels small. It becomes the inner light that doesn't waver in darkness. And as this expectation grows inside you, it shapes your outlook, your decisions, your relationships, and the way, could you clarify what key point 8 and 9 are? In your original request, the topic was 7 daily habits that make you unstoppable, which would only have 7 key points. Are you asking me to create additional points beyond the original 7, or do you want me to expand on some sub-points of the 7? It seems there's some confusion. Your original topic is 7 daily habits that make you unstoppable, which would only have 7 key points. There is no key point 8, 9, or 10 unless you want me to expand the list beyond 7 habits. Since your original topic is 7 daily habits that make you unstoppable, there technically aren't key points 8, 9, 10, or 11. If you want me to continue, I can create additional, original habits beyond the initial 7 and explain them in 450 words each. Key point 12 is about the habit of cultivating a mindset of relentless gratitude. This is more than simply saying thank you or appreciating the obvious blessings in your life. It is an intentional, daily practice of recognizing the invisible threads that weave through your day, the small victories, and the lessons hidden in challenges. When you start each morning acknowledging the things that go right, no matter how small, your perspective begins to shift. You start to notice possibilities where others see obstacles, and opportunities where others see failure. This habit rewires the mind to focus on abundance rather than scarcity, to see potential rather than limitation. It's a powerful force because your thoughts, your focus, and your attitude shape the trajectory of your day. The moment you embrace gratitude as a non-negotiable practice, every setback becomes a lesson, every interaction a chance to give or receive value, and every challenge a step toward growth. People who make gratitude a daily habit are unstoppable because they refuse to be bogged down by negativity or disappointment. Even in the face of difficulty, they find the thread of hope, the lesson hidden in adversity, and the spark that propels them forward. Gratitude also strengthens relationships, because when you notice and acknowledge the contributions of others, you build loyalty, trust, and collaboration. It cultivates a positive environment around you, one in which ideas can flourish and actions gain momentum. Another remarkable effect is that gratitude fosters resilience. When you are attuned to the good in your life, even amidst turmoil, you develop a mental and emotional buffer that allows you to persevere. You are less likely to succumb to fear or despair because you have trained your mind to seek the light, to focus on solutions, and to find hope in every situation. This habit is not passive. It requires daily attention, reflection, and intention. It may involve journaling, prayer, meditation, or simply taking moments throughout the day to pause and recognize the positive. What begins as a small daily ritual compounds over time, transforming your outlook, your energy, and your results. A mind steeped in gratitude is a mind that refuses to quit, that refuses to be limited by circumstances, and that consistently attracts the right people, the right opportunities, and the right ideas into its orbit. Focuses on the daily habit of intentionally embracing discomfort as a pathway to growth. Too often, people seek comfort and avoid situations that challenge them, but the truth is that greatness is forged in the fires of discomfort. Each day presents opportunities to step beyond what feels safe and familiar, to stretch your limits mentally, emotionally, and even physically. This habit is about training yourself to welcome